Hello and welcome to vChat, episode number 36. My name is David Davis from virtualizationsoftware.com.
And I'm Eric Siebert from vSphereland.com.
And I'm Simon Seagrave from techhead.co. How you doing, guys? It's been a while.
It has.
Wow,
Over a year.
yeah, it's been well over a year, that's for sure.
Absolutely, it's been too long. So,
Yeah,
Simon, why don't you start first? Let's kick it off and tell us how you've been doing, what you've been up to for the last, year or so.
year, 18 months. Yeah, well, I'm still, well, as we all are, we're still in IT, so still loving virtualization and cloud-related tech. Yeah, I still work for EMC. I am in the technical marketing portion of the company, particularly with a focus in various products, and still get to do a bit of the virtualization and the cloud-related stuff as well, which is good. Yeah, last year that's been an interesting one for me. I had a lot of happen. I had our first newborn. Tom, or Baby Techhead, as he's also called. So yeah, he's come onto the scene. He's now 16 months old, walking and pretty much talking as well. So and he's shown a real interest as well in anything with a button or a screen or anything is like that. So yeah, it's boding well on that. Yeah, I've gone through a bit of a health scare as well. I had something called Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a like a cancer of the lymphatic system. Luckily, we got it fairly early on, so it was only 2A, stage 2A, and luckily these days, I mean, it's not as all doom as gloom as it has been in the past. And after some treatment, pleased to report, I sort of got the clean bill of health. But yeah, it was an interesting time whilst going through the treatment and everything, and it still is as well. Trying to wrap your head around everything, and I was still sort of working whilst that was going on as well. But I'm back into work, sort of almost full swing now. But trying to get back to work, get your life back to normal, and get your head around everything. It's been a journey, that's for sure. But it's great to be back here again. And one thing as well, I mean, it gets you to reprioritize what's important in life, and what you enjoy and what you don't, and what have you. It's been a real eye opener, and for me, it's really confirmed. Obviously, family, friends, very important. But I throughout the whole thing, it would have been easy just to sort of forget about tech and what I was doing and everything like that. But no, it's part of it is what got me through it. It's because it's what I love, it's what I enjoy, and yeah, it's nice to get the show back on the road again. And it's good to catch up with you guys. And let's start the vChats again and keep them going a little bit more regular this time. I think an episode every year, 18 months perhaps isn't enough. I think we need to do a little bit regular. But
Sure.
at least we'd have a lot to talk about. I mean, we'd probably end up talking for about 6 hours, just every 18 months as to what's going on. And that's probably not a very good format. That's a bit longer than one car drive.
Yeah.
So what about you guys? What have you been up to? Enough about me.
Well, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, me, I'm still at HP, HP storage, and that doing solutions marketing, and that. Still enjoy it there. It's tell you, when you're dealing with anything with VMware, it's never a dull moment. They always keep it exciting, new releases, new features, new products, all that stuff, and that. So storage is never boring, and still enjoy doing that. On the kind of the personal side, not too much going on with me. I'm still in Arizona. The hot season finally just ended, so getting to enjoy cooling off a little bit. It always seems to drag on forever, that hot season and gets so kind of unbearable. But it's finally cooling off. And
so Eric, though, I've got to ask you though. I mean, hot season, I can imagine, is crazy hot, right? But what's winter like? I mean, how cold does it get in winter where you are? I mean, I'm guessing you don't see any snow or anything, right?
No, at the very extreme, it's gotten down to about 32 for a low and that. And but typical temperatures in like December, January in the 60s and that. And at nights, typically like the 40s and that. So pretty comfortable in that. You don't, I find I don't really have to heat the house that much and that. In the summer you're paying a lot just to cool your house. But that kind of, you got crazy electric bills and that, and especially having a home lab and everything else that contributes, all the electronics you have in the house. But during the winter you don't have much heating and cooling in that, so it's actually pretty comfortable in that. So that's definitely nice. Nice trade-off for going through that hot summer is getting a nice, nice comfortable winter. And that. Beyond that, just kind of overhauling all my websites and that. They've been on ancient versions of WordPress for so long, and that I was always scared to upgrade them because I don't want plugins to. I do a lot of customization of my themes, a lot of hacking of the code, the CSS, and all that stuff. So I was always hesitant to upgrade that, and GoDaddy finally pissed me off enough where I said I've had enough of you guys. They're blocking my access to my own website all the time, and that because they would categorize me either filtered as a spammer just for editing some of my posts for whatever reason. So I moved my hosting to another provider, HostGator, and that which has been a lot better. And while doing that, since I had two sites live, I took the opportunity to push the WordPress upgrade button from I was on like 2.7 or something like that, real old, to 4.0, and then I put a new theme in and got everything migrated and that. And it was actually, I was kind of moving the files is pretty straightforward, but moving the database was a little bit scary to me. So I kind of went through, researched everything, and it wasn't too bad. I documented the whole process on my website, and that in case anybody else wants to move their blog from one provider to another, and that kind of the whole step by step on how you do that and that. So got all my sites all moved, upgraded, latest and greatest, reskinned, and the whole works, and got my VLaunch pad all up to date finally. That's always a chore, and getting ready for the new top blog season coming up in a few months.
Wow, yeah. So anyone listening to this has got a blog, get your name into Eric there, so you get included. Very
Yep,
important.
for sure.
It's interesting you mentioned you changed provider there. I was with GoDaddy. I didn't have TechHead on there at all, but I had a few other sites that I was hosting for people and family and friends and stuff like that. But yeah, same thing. I found the performance was just getting slower and slower, so I've moved away from there, and including the TechHead site now. I've moved from my old provider onto there's a new one called SiteGround that I'm using. So found them really good, excellent support, very very responsive, and good performance on the website as well. So I've been running with those guys for about 3-4 months now, and yeah, if anyone's after a recommendation, like was it SiteGator?
HostGator.
Yeah, HostGator. I've heard
I
good
researched
things.
a bunch of them, and GoDaddy's definitely cheap, but you kind of get what you pay for.
Yeah.
HostGator wasn't all that much more, and they're definitely what makes the difference to me is the customer service and that, and their customer service seemed to be a lot better and more responsive and willing to work with people than GoDaddy, who kind of just didn't care. It seemed like.
Right. So David, what about you? What have you been up to? And I believe you've had a new addition to the family as well.
Yeah. I think I have since we last had a beach.
I can't
Yeah.
remember. It's all a blur.
Yeah. I've got a new boy, a second boy, and so he's been, keeping me busy. So that's been great. Train Signal was purchased by Pluralsight.com, so that's been a really good thing for me. In fact, and I think it's a good thing for the customers as well, because now there's like over 3,000 courses to watch, and I need to get busy watching some of those courses because there's a lot of good stuff. So I've just been creating more training, and and then in my free time, trying to find time to blog and work on my home lab. And it's funny you guys mentioned GoDaddy. I'm moving slowly off of GoDaddy as well. So yeah, pretty interesting.
There's a trend here.
So I see you in beaches and boats a lot. Sounds like you're off hitting the water a lot.
Yeah, that's what Chris Wall said to me too when I last saw him. He was trying to rub that in that, what do you, all you do is go to the beach and go boating, which I wish was, totally the truth. But I guess those are just kind of the only personal pictures I seem to post is
Okay.
when I see a really beautiful sunset or a boat or something, I tend to post that stuff. But I do actually live near the beach, so that makes it a lot easier. I can,
Yeah, for sure.
after work and go walk on the beach at night. So that's nice. I've also been doing a VMUG speaking tour. I've spoke at like 12 regional VMUGs this year, doing keynotes about virtualization management. So that's been fun. Gotten out, to meet, real VMware customers, real VMware admins. Talk to a lot of course, vendors and all different kinds of people. So that's been really good to keep me in touch with the community. And then also been, just working on my home lab. I built a little Mac Mini home lab here recently, and but it's already out of date. As you guys said, with
Yeah.
it's
The Mac Mini out of date, or the stuff you have on it, the
the
vCatchup
stuff
stuff?
I have on it, and even just because the Mac Mini maxes out at 16 gig of RAM, just deploying like vCenter Operations Manager in the vApp, I think the default, I can't remember offhand, but like the default is to allocate 12 gigs of RAM for the vApp, and on a 16 gig Mac Mini, you
Okay.
just used up the whole thing already. So Yeah, I've been looking at other, lab options, trying to research, online virtual labs, thinking about buying a bigger server, like a single, just big host, maybe, so I don't know.
That's the other way. I actually found I didn't take the recommended memory size when I was doing mine. That said, though, just a slight caveat on that, my lab isn't working at the moment. It hasn't been working for a very long time. So, but last time I can't remember what version I would have been on. Can't remember, but I didn't take the recommended. I cranked it right down, and it still seemed to work. I think because I had so very few VMs actually running in the environment, it wasn't too bad. But you're so right. I mean, as well, it's also the Microsoft OS as well. You look at Windows Server, latest version of that. I can't remember what the minimum requirements on that is as well. I mean, gone are the days where Windows 2000 you could get away with like 2 gigs of memory and what have you. Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, and an interesting thing is, sorry, we're tangenting off here, but something just popped into my head there was you saw the news recently from VMware that they announced they were going to turn off the TPS, the transaction page sharing. I always get that acronym wrong.
Yeah, transparent.
Transparent page sharing. Sorry. Yeah, that was it. They were going to turn that off by default with the new version or the next release, the next minor update that comes out. So, that's going to be interesting. They might catch a few people out because that was always pretty good. I mean, especially when you're running a single lab with multiple OSs on it. I mean, I always made great savings there with that because so much of the code was the same running in there, so I could really sort of oversubscribe on that. So, when the new update comes out, people are updating their labs and perhaps haven't noticed it's been turned off by default, may not see that get those same sort of levels of consolidation that they had before. But the good news is you can enable it again, but you just have to manually go in and do it or script it or something.
Yeah, I did a big post on it, kind of just, I read through the technical paper, which is quite a challenging read in that because they got a lot of mathematics and stuff in there. But the scenario where that was actually a vulnerability was such an obscure thing that it really wouldn't affect most people in that to be able to duplicate that and have that happen. I think the interesting thing out of all that, though, was that someone, it's always been about escaping the cave, getting out of the VM container into the hypervisor to other VMs. That's never been done before, really. ESX has always been able to be resilient enough to keep everything contained, and now finally someone has figured a way out. So I thought that was kind of the real kind of surprise out of it all was, because VMware tries to get a little bit cutesy with kind of sharing and stuff like that with resources and that, someone finally was able to find some exploit that would allow a VM to, traverse the hypervisor to other VMs and that, which was the interesting thing I took out of that. But it seemed like it wasn't that big of a deal, though. I think VMware is just being overly paranoid, which is a good thing with security, just turning that off and by default and that. But I think for most customers, turning that back on, they're really not going to run into any problems.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a good idea by VMware to do that because you could imagine high profile. All you need is a high profile instance where there is an exploit that happens. I mean, the easiest way is just to turn it off by default, isn't it? For them, and then it's a case of user beware if you want to turn it back on. So that's a smart move, and it's a sensible move on their part. So David, sorry, I was tangenting off there. And hey, so the Mac Mini, how do you find it running it on there? Because they're lovely little boxes. They're really quiet and small, obviously as well.
Cost wise, what do you like a typical build for that? What are you kind of putting into that money wise?
I bought them refurbished from Apple. And I had to wait. I used there's another website, I can link to it later, but it monitors Apple's refurbished website because certain models only, they periodically come available and people snatch them up in their limited quantities. So I used another service to monitor Apple's refurbished website to notify me as soon as this particular model came available because I wanted basically the i7 that had the most CPU and I think it has a 1 terabyte hard drive, and it has an extra slot for an SSD. So I put SSDs in each one, and then I was able to run vSAN across them, and I upgraded the memory to 16 gigs. So trying to remember what I spent. I don't know, maybe $1,200 or something total on each one after I put the
SSD. On each one? Okay.
Yeah, I bought a 3-year warranty for each one just to make sure they were covered. And I had to buy a little kit to basically install the SSD from a third party. So
okay.
And then I used William Lamb's he has an ESXi special build available from his website. You have to use that build that he keeps updated pretty currently, but you have to use that build, and then you're able to run vSAN across all three of them. So
Nice.
So,
yeah,
any reason for choosing Mac Mini over traditional, kind of small, like a microserver type thing here, or
not in particular. I
different?
just
Small?
I seen a couple blog posts where people had done it, and I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. They are just so thin.
Yeah,
It's
don't take up much room.
So a whole stack of three of them, is, well, you probably can't see my hands, but a whole stack of three of them is probably smaller than one HP microserver.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
It's pretty good, and they're pretty cheap to run as well. The running costs on them are pretty minimal as well, aren't they? If I remember rightly.
Totally silent. I mean, they don't make any noise. So,
Okay.
plus the resale value. I figured, worst case, if I didn't
Yeah.
like it after a year, the resale value of Mac products is pretty darn good. I could just resell it. So.
Yeah, and it's the type of thing. I don't know about you guys. I think I've mentioned this before. How I justify these sort of. I mean, I don't really buy too much kit these days, if I'm honest with you. But how I justify it, we're no different than sort of a tradesperson. If you're a plumber, for example, having the tools, you've got to have your kit bag, right, with your wrenches in there and things like that. Or if you're a builder, you need your saws and your hammers. For us, it's no different. You need the tools for your trade. You can't get away without it, which obviously would be a bit harder if you're a tradesperson. But you just keep yourself current and everything, and you need to outlay a little bit. You've got to invest a bit in yourself to invest in your career as well. So yeah, no, smart move.
Yeah, and speaking of keeping current, I know, Eric, you did a recent post, and I think there's a script in it or something. Can you tell us about, because I know trying to stay up to date with, VMware's Planet V12N RSS, subscription is good, but it's become challenging as it's gotten more and more noisy. And I know you created...
You can't filter out what you don't want with that.
Right, you created a special, is it a script or what is it?
Yeah, basically it's an OPML file, which is an import file for RSS and that. It's just built out of XML and that. So what it is an XML file that contains, I broke it down into 4 different types of files. One if you only want the top 10, one if you want top 25, top 50, or top 100. But basically you just go to your RSS reader, you import, you pick that file, and it'll populate all those blogs, and you can actually, with my RSS reader, you can select which ones you want, which ones you don't want too, if you want to get even more granular, and then you have individual RSS feeds for all those blogs that you can read through, and that, which I think makes it a lot easier to consume than that giant river of things that you get from Planet V12N. And I know they've gotten better, but in the past there was a lot of blogs that were just spamming the crap out of it, and that. And I kept telling them, hey, can you remove these? And I think with their platform, it was difficult to make any changes to it and that. But I've heard that that's kind of resolved, and they're a bit more active now to be able to do that. But still, it's a lot of stuff coming through there, and you can't filter what you want and what you don't want. So that's kind of why I developed that. I also have my Planet site, which I got to update soon too. That's an aggregator just like Planet V12N. Right now, I think it's only like the top 25 blogs. I was going to update that so it's like the top 50 or top 100 blogs, so you get a more kind of condensed version of that as well.
And then you have a Twitter feed too, right?
I did, but that plugin from WordPress to Twitter, because Twitter keeps changing their APIs,
Yeah.
and making it hard for people to hook into stuff, broke. So I got to go back and try to fix that from that, where it used to automatically post anything that would come through on Twitter.
Yeah, that was a hassle for me as well, because I've always religiously used Microsoft LiveWriter for all my blogging, since I pretty much started back in, I can't remember when it was, 2007, 2008. I found it fantastic, and back in the day there was a nice little plugin that made the call out to Twitter API, and so when you went to publish a post, it was great. It would shorten the URL, but it could automatically post out to Twitter that you just released a new post. It was really, really quite convenient, and then obviously they changed their API and that stopped working, and so I have to do it all manually now. It's not a big deal. It only takes sort of 30 seconds if that. But it was kind of nice. And actually, talking about blogging tools, before we started recording this, I was telling you guys. I mean, those of you out there who do blogging and use an Apple or OS X, there is you might want to check out a new A new WordPress. It's WordPress only at the moment, but it's a WordPress client for blogging for OS X called Blogo, Blogo. You can get it on the App Store. I literally downloaded it this morning and published my first post on it, but been quite impressed, and it's being pitched as sort of a replacement for Windows Live Writer for those people out there like myself who use Apple. Because Live Writer was one of the few apps that I still spun up a Windows session for to use, and it's quite a hassle to do that. So there's a native OS X app now that's pretty good. Hasn't got all the functionality of Live Writer, but it's got the basics, and they definitely seem pretty proactive. If the blurb on their site's anything to go by for adding extra new features and what have you. So that's definitely worth checking out. It was about £20.99, so yeah, not cheap, but not the world's most expensive bit of software either. And yeah, I definitely give it a thumbs up. It's pretty good. So,
is there a Windows version as well?
No, I believe it's just a Mac version. I mean, I still love Live Writer. I love the functionality, and it used to have a really good community around it for the plugins, and that was the power with Live Writer. I mean, the dev team they had on it was good. But the amount of updates you got for it sort of became less and less, and it was really the community with these plugins that you could write for it that added the real power to it, in my opinion. But that sort of dried up, 3-4 years ago, if not more. Some of the plugins still work, some don't, but like the Twitter one I mentioned there. But yeah, but Blogo seems pretty good.
Yeah, and the new WordPress 4.0, it's got a much nicer editor. If you just go to the
definitely.
Yeah.
Me going from 2.7 to 4.0 was a whole big difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're lucky your sites hadn't been hacked there, Eric, with some exploit.
I keep getting someone that would inject into one of my tables something that would put like the spam things on the header. The first time it happened, it took me forever to figure it out. I finally just went through all my WordPress tables with the PHP MyAdmin, and I saw it in there. And that they actually, it was really tricky. They did the text backwards and that, so you couldn't read and that, and then they reversed it. But I saw that row, so periodically it would make its way back, and I just manually go in there and just delete that row from the table, and it was cleared. So.
Wow.
Or you could have just pressed the update button and updated your blog to the new version.
yeah, it's that simple.
Eric, you mentioned your RSS reader. What RSS reader are you using these days?
I used to use RSS Bandit, but I had problems with that getting stuck on feeds and not updating. And now I use FeedDemon, which is another free Windows-based one. And
FeedDemon's good.
Yeah, and I wasn't finding too many out there, and you don't see a lot of those, because Google had one, I think, or do they still have the Google Reader, or they shut that down?
No, Google pulled their RSS feed feature or service. Yeah, that's gone now.
So, cause that's how I pull everything in to aggregate links. I pull it all in and then go through those and kind of sort through things that look interesting that I post to my site under the categories.
Cool.
Gotcha. Hey, so talking about labs, David, your lab with the Macs there, Eric, what are your labs looking like these days?
Mine's in the same state as yours in pieces. I got 2 ML110s down there, and 2 microservers, the older microservers down there. And then I got this new Gen 8 microserver here, and that I just got a couple months ago that I got to spin up. And they've definitely come a long way with the Gen 8. It's definitely a lot nicer, a lot easier to service and to get into, and that more powerful. And that the CPU is finally that weak CPU they used to have. That was a notebook CPU, and now I think it's a bit bumped up with a 2-core and supporting more memory. Supports 16 gig now, and that I think it also has more NICs by default, which makes it better. So. Good basic server for, you don't want to spend a lot of money on your lab and that. You can do a lot with these things and that. They're pretty robust and that, and they're quiet, don't take a lot of power and that. So
yeah,
I got to get this thing up and running, and probably the rest of the lab, eventually too, and that, and get going back into all that hands-on fun stuff.
Yeah, because it's a hard decision, because I mean this many of you out there probably know this already, but I mean this Gen 8 of the server here went across, changed the AMD version of the microservers, no more. That finished with the G7s. That's all now Intel based, and that particular model there, the G8, you can get everything from a Celeron right up to a Xeon. Obviously, it's got different price tags associated with that. But if you like myself, I bought 2 of the old N36L versions, which was like the Gen 6 or something. But it's all AMD. So to make the jump now across to the Intel base, If I, they'll still play together and what have you. But if I want to use HA or anything like that, obviously that's not going to work between CPU types there. But what I did pick up, they've got a few. They had a few remaining ones left, so you can pick one.
The
of
older?
These. Yeah, this is the G7.
The 54L?
Yeah, 54L. I mean, I couldn't.
Okay.
It was less than £100 after rebate.
Oh wow, okay, it's not bad.
Which is a really good deal. So I want to get my labs. I haven't done anything on my labs probably for about a year, well over a year now. So it's about time I got them cranked up again, and it just seemed like a good opportunity to pick up another cheap server for the lab. That's like David was saying, that's quiet, cheap to run. So
and to be able to run vSAN, you need those couple servers and that 3 servers and that. So yeah, it's nice if you can have something with that. You can put in, it's pretty up to 4 slots. So those drives. The new one is, I think it's hot swappable now, aren't they? Or no, not hot plug, but they're in the trays. You can easily pull them in.
Yeah.
And that, so up to 4 drives and that, so you can put in your SSD and your spinning disks and
we're
try out vSAN.
Still limited to those ones. He's still got them up to 16 gig on the older model unofficially, which is good. Whether you can get the G8 up to 32, I'm not sure. It's been a while since I went looking. Last thing I read that you couldn't, but that's because at the time, and once again, this is quite a while ago, that 16 gig UDIMMs weren't widely available, so people weren't quite prepared to sort of shell out the money to take the risk.
Okay. Yeah, and there's still DDR3, and that it supports 1600 megahertz now instead of the 1333. But the big thing was that the old one only had 1 NIC. With having 2 NICs now, if you want to, it gives you more flexibility to do your virtual networks and that. So I definitely like that part too.
Yeah, because I think one of the NICs from memory on the G8, doesn't it double up as the management port as well? On there, if you want to use the ILO.
Yeah, I believe one of the ports is combination. Or actually, isn't? I thought I saw separate.
Is it separate? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's a separate ILO port now.
Ah, okay, that's
So
good.
ILO, 2 NICs, and then all the USB in that. So yeah, they did break that out. I thought on the older ones it was kind of a combo.
Yeah, it might
NIC
have been
ILO.
actually. Yeah.
And that, so they split that off, which is good, and you got 2 dedicated NICs.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you could use that third one as a NIC ILO too, as well, to get you 3. But I don't know if you can do that or not.
Might be pushing our luck on that one, I think. Yeah, well, I'm still using my iAmega PX4 as well as the storage.
Okay, same here.
That's just been sitting there chugging away. I haven't turned it off or anything. The only time it ever gets turned off is when there's a power cut or something. So that's
Okay.
I had a drive fail on it a couple of weeks ago, but that's the first time I've had a drive fail, and just put the new one in, and a few hours later it rebuilt again. So
Okay.
yeah, I just want the price of SSDs to drop a bit more. I mean, it's pretty amazing the price now, but I'm still after those 512 gig ones to drop down to something a little bit more affordable. Then I'll start putting them in my lab servers.
Nice. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple other lab ideas I want to quickly throw out or mention. I posted a blog this morning on VMware's cloud management blog on vRealize Operations, which is the new version of VC Operations, but basically pointing out that it's available on VMware's hands-on lab. So, anyone can go, and for free, they can access VMware's hands-on labs over the internet. And for, some of the really advanced VMware products, if you need access to it and you want to play with it or want to learn about it, it's a great way because, building up a large lab environment, like we're talking about here, in your home, to run something like vRealize Operations with all the advanced, login site and everything up and running. It takes so much work and so much effort. Yeah.
And you get a lab guide, easy to follow lab guide with this as well, which is brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah. The lab guides. I mean, for this one lab, there was 4 hours of work to do just for one lab. So they're so comprehensive and there's so much in there, but you have full access, to vSphere and all these advanced products. So it's a great way to learn. I've also been playing around with something called Revelo Systems, which is a company out of Israel, and basically they have a web-based application where you can design lab environments, lab blueprints. You design the hosts, the OSs, the networking, everything, and then it publishes that up to Amazon Web Services, and you pay by the minute to access it. But you never need to know how to use, actually you can do Google Compute Engine and Azure as well. You'd never have to know how to use any of those. You just use their web app, design your lab, and then pay so many cents per minute to run it, and soon they're going to have nested ESXi. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That sounds like fun. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those cloud-based lab now things are definitely attractive if it's lower cost, where I can go in and just play around, don't have to have any of the equipment and that. Because if you look at the cost of buying all that equipment versus just paying a fee to access it, probably a lot cheaper for as much as you use it, which is probably not that often.
I think a lot of guys, I mean, like myself, still a little bit old school on that. I'm coming around slowly to do my labs
too.
like that. I still like
hardware.
physical hardware, and you think, oh, if I buy it though, I've got the resale value on it. The fact that you never actually sell it to get your money back, you kind of forget that at the time. But then you got your running costs and cooling and everything like that. But I still like physical hardware. I still, I'm an ex-service sysadmin from way back, and I just like taking the lid off things and putting memory in and upgrading drives, and it's just like getting my hands dirty.
Sure.
Me too.
But
So,
for businesses, cloud, I can definitely see the value proposition there. So
Yeah, so guys, I wanted to ask you guys, what kind of topics do you think we should talk about in our upcoming, much more frequent vChats in the future? Simon, what are you interested in?
Yeah, I think the big thing, obviously, frequency has got to be more frequent than it has been, i.e. a bit more frequent than every year. I think, obviously vChat, we've got the V in the name there for virtualization. Obviously our focus has predominantly always been on VMware, but we tend to just chat about stuff and tech in general, really, don't we? But I think it'd be good to, with cloud-based technology being a lot more prevalent now, I think I'd like to see us talking about sort of cloud-based news and bits and bobs a little bit more, as well as the VMware, the virtualization. I wouldn't mind. One of the things on my to-do list, I want to familiarize myself with, Hyper-V a little bit more as well. I mean, that's been on my to-do list for quite a while. So, maybe a bit of discussion around that. But obviously, most of us, our day-to-day job, the focus is around sort of VMware virtualization with our respective companies. Some integration point, like Eric at HP. I mean, your storage there, a lot of your story there is quite heavily based around VMware as well as Microsoft. EMC, same thing, quite a focus on VMware there as well as other vendors, obviously. So, I don't know. I think, a bit more cloud in there would be nice. Gadgets, tech, just anything that we're doing at the time, really. And you never know, there might be one or two people out there that want to listen to us groan on about that stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at the vMugs, one of the things I was saying is at VMworld, I felt like there was kind of three big hot topics: hyperconvergence, NSX, and cloud, hybrid cloud of some kind. So I'd love to do some episodes or series of episodes, and us talk about topics like that, and maybe have some guests on here and there. And just learn a little bit more. Oh, and OpenStack. I guess I should add that on.
OpenStack's a big one. Yeah. That's the one I'm starting to learn a bit more about at the moment. And
Yeah, and I'm not knowledgeable about OpenStack at all, but I'd love to learn more. Have guests on, talk about it, and help educate the viewers out there. At the same time.
Yeah, that's good. I think we can definitely get people in from VMware. If you want a vendor side of things, I was involved sort of on the periphery with the EMC hybrid cloud launch. The EMC enterprise hybrid cloud launch that was a couple of weeks ago. We can pull in people from there, and they can talk generically. Can tell it's getting late about that. So we can bring in some folks from there. And imagine, Eric, you're from the HP side of the house. There's bound to be a few folks there that can talk cloud and a bit of hybrid in there as well. So
Sure.
mix it up a little bit, and get some other folk in there as well, independent and some other vendors perhaps.
Yeah, Eric, any other topics you're interested in that I missed?
Storage. Always have more storage. Can't go wrong with storage and that. New vSphere release coming out soon, and that. There's a lot of cool stuff in there to talk about. The new virtual volumes architecture that's coming out. The replace VMFS. OpenStack you mentioned. It's gotten a lot bigger now. I see a lot of tweets from all these people at this big OpenStack conference across the pond over there now. And so it seems like with VMware's better commitment to it now, and a lot of the vendors all kind of supporting OpenStack, that got some momentum around it now. So I claim to not know too much about it at this point, I'd like to learn a bit more about it, so I think that's always a good topic, and that as more interests, people are getting interested in that. Um, yeah, I think, like you said, anything kind of gadgets, fun, what we're doing, home labs, the current trends and topics like hyperconverged and cloud and all that. I think you can't go wrong with any of that. It's all good conversation topics.
Actually, Erica, you just mentioned about the gadgets there. I remember one of the shows we did, one of the last ones we did. I think you were showing us your new sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who that you'd bought.
I just had that somewhere. I was just playing with that the other day.
So yeah. So I've got to ask you actually quickly because we've got to wrap up. But yeah, what do you think of the new Doctor Who?
I hated the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I always have a difficult transition from one Doctor to the other. Tennant and a couple of those ones after they were pretty good. This new guy I didn't like initially, and it didn't help that the first episode I saw was atrocious, and the second episode was bad too. By the third episode, I was just ready to. I deleted. I wasn't going to watch them anymore. But then it picked up, and it got better and more interesting in that. And so I've grown to like the current Doctor. I think it's always you're so used to the old Doctor, and you liked him that it's hard to make that transition, and it takes a couple episodes to do that. So I've gotten to the point where I like the new Doctor now. And I like the show again and that because it had definitely picked up this season, whereas the first couple episodes I just really didn't like at all.
Yeah, I got halfway through the first episode like yourself. It just seemed, I don't know, I didn't quite gel with it. Sort of large dinosaurs in London, if I remember rightly, and it just seemed a little bit too far fetched, So yeah, I didn't watch the end of that one, but I caught a couple recently, and they were definitely a lot better. I was quite a Matt Smith fan. I thought he was very good.
Yeah, me too.
But the new chap's very good. I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
And David's going, what the heck are you guys talking about?
I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but you guys make me want to watch it. It sounds pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
Yeah. Well, it's been great chatting, guys. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to a lot more vChats in 2014 and 2015. Any final comments, Eric?
Hey, I'm glad we're back together finally. It's glad to have the old band back together, and I look forward to doing. We got upcoming holidays. We'll have to do a Thanksgiving special, Christmas special, and that. And if anybody has topics they want us to cover, and that we'll bring in special guests. So look forward to getting back in the swing of it all and pumping out more of these.
Yeah. Hey, what would be quite interesting to your point there, Eric? I think it'd be quite good to have our special guests on there, but it'd be quite good to have some listeners on maybe occasionally as well. Guys and girls out there are perhaps on the front line of IT and get a take from there as to what they're seeing,
sure.
What they're experiencing. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely open to that.
Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We all have comment or contact us sections on our respective blogs, I'm sure. So if the readers out there have ideas or feedback, feel free to contact us or contact us on Twitter as well.
Yep.
So
and also, I'm up in the just do a quick plug for the UK National VMUG. So that happens once a year. We have the regional, then we have a national one up in Birmingham every year. So that's in a couple of weeks' time, so mid-November. So I'm heading up to that. I've got a session up there, which will be good. That'll be on home lab storage. Virtual storage, so I look forward to that. Another reason I've got to get my home lab up and running. But if you're heading up, come and say hi, and it'd be great to chat to you.
Sounds awesome. All right, well, thanks so much, guys. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Great chatting to you guys.
Till
See you
next
later.
time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.